Alright there, I'm Bob, Bob the Great Tit, and I hope you're all having great time taking photos and submitting them for Backyard BioBlitz. As a wee treat for you, here's my pal Sophie. She's a scientist at St Andrews Uni, and she studies wee birds, well, like tits like me. So she's going to have a wee look at one of my pals and tell you what she's doing.
Right, so in here we have a great tit. Now I know you probably think that this looks quite bad that she's in a bag, but actually this is the best thing for her. It keeps her nice and calm rather than me walking around with her in my hand. So this is a female great tit. Now she's actually already got a ring on her, so we could know already some details about her. Now the first thing I need to do is write down what this ring number is. This ring number is basically the same as your name. It's who you are. It's how I know who this bird is. It's ALB 5529. So I will then be able to put that number into a database online that's run by the British Trust of Ornithology, the BTO. And then anyone who's previously caught this bird, who will then have also used the same number, I'll be able to then get details, so I'll know where she was originally caught, what age she might have been at the time, and so on. Chances are, though, it's a bird I've already caught. I do recognise the ring. Okay, so now that I've ringed her, the next thing I really need to do is try and age her. Now, what great tits do is when they come out of the nest, they're in their juvenile plumage, their juvenile feathers, which are kind of slightly duller colour than what they are now. You can tell a juvenile, like a first year, by just looking at them. Then around October time, they start to molt most of their feathers, but not all of them, which is really useful for us because it means that this year we can then look at their feathers and we can see an age difference. So we'll be able to tell if they were hatched last year or another year. Now, once they get to the end of their breeding season, be it their first or their third, they molt all their feathers. So unfortunately, we then can't tell how old they are. So we can only tell how old they are if they were born, or if they hatched this year, last year, or that's it, that's all we know. So female great tits are quite hard to age because they are just slightly bland. So sometimes you can't actually tell the difference between the adult feathers and juvenile feathers. So what we're looking for is a difference between these and these. And trust me when I say that there isn't one. It's something that you need to get your eye in. So what we're kind of looking at is how this black on these feathers here, which we call the greater coverts, matches this black here. And it does, it's the same shade. And the same with this kind of grey blue line here. Does it match the same grey blue on the rest of the feathers? It does. So we now know that they are the same age. That means this bird did not hatch last year. So she is at least 2 years old. Beyond that, we don't know. All we know is that she's at least 2 years old. So then the next thing we want to do is we actually want to check that she is a she, and I've not just been completely misusing pronouns for this poor bird. So great tits are quite useful because you can actually sex them outside of the breeding season. So if we look here, can you see how there's a tiny black line, but it doesn't go all the way down? That shows it's a female. Now, if she had black going all the way along and out to her legs, that will show he would be a male, but we know this is a female. At this time of year, we can also check by looking at what's called her brood patch. So that is a brood patch. Nice, wrinkly and saggy. I know, it's quite gross. So what the brood patch is she drops her feathers and will pluck them out just during while she's laying her eggs. And then when she's incubating, that brood patch will sit right on the eggs and keep them warm. And if you ever see a heat signature of a nesting bird, you'll see all this heat coming off of her chest. It's basically like having a really hot, big hot water bottle sat on the eggs, and it keeps them nice and warm. So from that, we know she is now a female. Then there's a few other things we also do just to, make sure that she's fit and healthy. Like we're going to take her wing length, which is 75. I'm going to write that down because I'm old and I won't be able to remember it otherwise. And then the other thing is we weigh her.
While Sophie's weighing my pal, I should probably point out that you shouldn't go around grabbing wee buds. We don't really like it. So Sophie's specially trained in handling us in a way that doesn't stress us out. Back to you, Sophie.
So I've weighed her, and she's a really healthy weight of 20.6 grams. Now that's actually quite heavy. Well, it's not quite heavy, but it's kind of on the heavier side for a great tit. Now what we find is that when females are incubating, they weigh a lot more than normal. Most of my work is with blue tits, so kind of imagine this but with a blue head. And we find that incubating females can weigh up to 2 to 3 grams more. That's 20% more than normal body weight when they're incubating. They're basically just really fat and heavy. Which is possibly a good sign that it means that the male is doing his job and bringing her food. She's kind of lucky. I would quite like to just sit in bed and have a nice strapping man bring me food. Maybe we shouldn't put that on Twitter either. But anyway, so yeah, that is a female great tit, and this is how we've ringed it. Here is the ring. So it's called an E-ring, and it's made up of 3 letters and 4 numbers. There's a variety. Some have different letters and different numbers, depending on what combination we use. But this is unique to this bird. So if she decides to fly off to Glasgow, which is highly unlikely, but if she is and caught there, they will know that she would have also been to St Andrews Botanic Gardens. Yeah. Off you go. Oh, yeah. Kisses. With a lovely alarm call to let us know that she's really, really unimpressed.
So, cheers very much for that, Sophie. Hope you all enjoyed that. Remember to keep taking photos and submit them to Backyard BioBlitz.